so welcome to HotRod Mess. My name is Angie. Thank you for joining us on this lovely ride, and I hope you've buckled up because we have an awesome guest with us. We have brought back Mary, and Mary is here. She's HotRodder, and she is here to discuss, as we said before, Mac. And Mac, aka Ha. And the reason why I say Ha is his name is actually H.A. So when Dot. Yes, Dot. He was very important about saying Dot. Mac was and still is I hate to say was because he still lives on in us. But Mac was and is the dearest friend of ours and holds a very special place in my heart and Mary's heart. But he was also an amazing human, and half of this stuff I didn't even know. So, Mary, what is Mac? Who is Mac? Who's Ha?
If I dare say this, is ex-wife used to say HA stood for hey asshole. Sorry, I met her, never knew her. She was a cop too.
That's awesome. Hey asshole. Well, we actually at the shop one day we had the friend of ours was pulling into the shop and he was rear-ended. I don't know if you remember, but Mac was there that day and he was rear-ended. And when he was rear-ended, he was thrown into all of our auto sales cars that was on the front line, and the whole accident took out about 4 or 5 of our cars. And kind of crazy, and we'll tell that story another day. There was a teenage girl looking at a car 5 minutes before, and she would have been pinned, and it would have been awful. And the parents were actually, and then were still inside when it happened. They were like, oh my goodness. But when the cop asked everybody, they were getting everybody's name as they traditionally do and whatnot. He asked Mac what his name was, because technically he was a witness.
Yes.
And he goes, well, I go by Mac, but my legal name is H. Dot, and he dot A. Dot McCarthy. And he goes, okay, wise ass. What's H stand for and what's A stand for? He goes, that's my legal name. Ha! And he goes, is this guy for real? I'll never forget. I still see that cop on police scenes with me now. And he looks at me and he goes, is this guy for real? I'm like, look at his ID. It's who he is. And I was like, it's real. I was like, I don't understand what the HA stands for either. And he goes, I told you. Ha! And I was like, he's not being a wise ass. And then he went into, I used to be an officer and I would never judge somebody like that. I would never do that. I can't believe you just did that. And he started lecturing
him?
Oh yeah. And I was like, and of course, now we have paramedics there. This is there. That's there. And I'm like, Mac, shut the fuck up. We don't need bad juju. I have to work with these guys. So it's pretty funny. So I have here this incredible resume of Mac's life, and I am reading over it and just wow, working with gangs and all that back in the 80s and all that. Well, I mean, think about it, in Chicago, how amazing. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't amazing for Mac, but how amazing with the history of the gangs and all that back then. I mean, I guess you would have Whitey Bulger and all those other guys back then. I mean, that was a big thing. So, tell me about Mac.
Where do I begin? His father was a treasury agent.
Really?
Brought up by his single parent, brought up by his father. And his father wanted him to be a G-man like he did, but he didn't want that. He wanted to work locally. He actually worked first as a deputy sheriff for the Cook County Sheriff's Department. I believe that was 74 to 77, and then he was able to apply and join the Chicago Police Department force in 1977. It's what he wanted to do, and all he wanted to do was give back to the city that raised him,
Now, what happened to his mom?
She left.
Oh, okay.
She left.
Okay, so it wasn't that she passed away. It was
No.
just okay. So roles were reversed.
Yeah, around. He was around 10 years old when she left.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, so
Poor man.
yeah, but
That explains a lot of lingering questions. I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. I'm kidding.
He revered his father like no tomorrow. Father died in 82, I believe. So never met him. Had no family. So the police was his family. And then when he got into the cars, the car family was his family. So he really loved the city, and he had so many stories to tell about it. I'm not sure what years it was, but he wanted to work in the hardest neighborhoods. He wanted to go where others wouldn't go.
That's amazing if you think about it, because not to go on like police brutality or anything, but there's so much negativity out there about police officers and everything, especially now that it's kind of, when you hear their stories of why they chose, it's always something like this, like, I want to give back. And what they're giving is essentially like almost like an ultimate sacrifice, because you just never know where they're going to end up.
Right.
And especially for him where he was. I mean,
I know. He went to work at some point. I don't know if he was a sergeant or still a patrolman, but he worked in Englewood, which was the one of the roughest neighborhoods there. And he told me a story about one day, trying to get.
And this was all in Chicago?
Oh, Chicago. Yeah,
okay.
It's just a neighborhood in Chicago, Englewood. And he obviously was trying to make inroads to show the people how much he cared for them and meant.
Time out 1 second. Vinny? No. Go.
Mute dog. So he said one day, and he had a little hard time convincing his team to work with him on this, but he said, the sidewalks were dirty and trash or whatever, so he armed them all with brooms, and he's down the street with his team sweeping and trying to clean up the street. And then some neighbor came out and says, "Why are you doing this? You don't live here." He says, "Well, I'm part of the community. I work here, I help protect you, and I take pride in where I work." And in short order, he had all the neighbors doing the same thing, sweeping the streets to give them confidence and feel good about their own neighborhood. The fact that they called him the little white guy. Because
and
he was the little white guy in the
Mac was the little
all black
guy.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
So it was just stories like that just made him so endearing.
I don't think Mac ever even got a tan.
He liked to fish, but beach was not his thing. Irish as they come. So.
That's awesome.
So that was just one of the jobs he had. Oh, we have company.
Oh, so you're just sit down, Benny, down.
Yeah.
Continue. Sorry.
Okay. In 1983, his career almost ended. He was in a high-speed chase. A woman was, I forget what the incident was, but it was a high-speed pursuit. And the woman stopped the car, and he stopped the cruiser, and he got out of the cruiser, but the woman backed up into him and crushed him between his own door. Backed right into the door, and his body was in between the door and the B pillar on the car. And he hit his head on the light bar. That he coded.
Oh my goodness.
He coded at the hospital, but they were able to bring him back. It took 18 months for him to recover. He was off work for 18 months, full body cast, and then he called it the turtle shell. He had to wear that for almost a year, including leg braces, because there was so much damage.
That's awful. Did they catch her?
They caught her, but they were never able to get the charges to stick. So she was never brought to justice.
That's awful.
It was really bad.
That's awful. How can you not get charges like that to stick?
Yeah. I don't know what the circumstances. I never read the case.
Yeah, it was probably something chaotic, like
or someone not doing their job properly.
Someone didn't dot the I and cross the T.
More than likely. But it changed his life forever. And they wanted to give him a medical retirement at that point. Well, he'd only been on the job six years at that point. Oh, he was still in his, in his early 30s. But he had so much more to give, and he had to convince them that while he may not be able to run down the bad guy on foot, he had so much desire, passion, and knowledge to be able to be a very productive officer, and he had to fight to keep his job because that's what he wanted to do. He could have taken the easy road out,
most people
just retired.
Yeah,
but he didn't want to do that. So there's so many jobs, as you can see from the resume, that he did that's allowed him to use his intellect, even though he wasn't able to. He recovered almost fully, though he was in pain all the time because of the body damage. And we talked about this briefly too. The International Association of Chiefs of Police, in conjunction with DuPont, created a survivors club because DuPont was the inventor of Kevlar and the Kevlar vest. Well, the Kevlar vest saved Mac's life today because it kept him together. It kept all his body together instead of completely being crushed. So he wasn't.
Wow.
He had been shot other times, 3 times as a matter of fact, and stabbed. I mean, it was just so many things, but a lot.
And he just kept going back.
Just kept going back.
Oh my
He didn't.
God.
I know. But he was the first inductee to the Survivors Club, and he had a pin, and he was number 1 of the survivors that are
That's
honored
awesome.
for their heroism and being hurt in the line of duty. That the vest saved his life.
That's amazing.
It's amazing.
And I'm sure it was a huge thing because back then I'm sure it was like, oh, let's try this new thing to save officers, and well, sure and shit, it worked.
Yeah, it absolutely did work.
Wow.
It did work. He got the highest accommodation from the department too, called the Blue Star. So he had a second Blue Star too. So he wore those proudly on his uniform.
That's awesome.
So that's something you do. You almost don't want to get, but they honored him with that. And when he retired in 2008, he had 151 commendations, more than any officer that had at that point in any career. So the binders, I still have some of them. The binders were this thick with all the citations. It kept them all. So
That's incredible.
he had a lot of salad, as they called it, on his uniform.
Yeah.
It meant so much to him to be part of all that.
That's
So,
awesome.
and humble on top of it all.
He was very happy, humble guy. Like you would never really know that he was in pain and suffering, because he never let it out.
No, he hid it. He hid it really well.
Yeah. Wasn't Mac at one point a big guy, like heavyweight?
Yes, he was.
He said that to me one day, and
Yes.
I said, "Bullshit." I said, "No, you weren't. I mean, you're a fit and trim guy." And he goes, "No, I was fat."
No, he was. Pushing 300 pounds. That was. He's probably 250 or 270, 225 when I met him, but he definitely was he was always a big guy. He was always a big kid, but it was unfortunate per se that it was illness that made him lose the weight. With all of the issues that were all job related over time, just took a toll on his life and on his health. So it was something that's one of the reasons he moved to Cape Cod. Was, yes, I was his best friend, but also a caregiver. So able to do things that he wasn't able to do because he had no family.
Yeah.
So he was my family.
Yeah, Mac is our fam. I love
fam.
fam. Now, what was, so he has on his resume, I want to see here because I was very questioning about it, and I had here so he got his certifications his certifications list is incredible.
Oh, it's amazing.
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, he had narcotics, dangerous drugs, burglary. He had bombs, arson, criminal street gangs. He had homicide. I mean, so many things that he did. It's very impressive. We have a dog in the studio, guys, just so you all know, and he's aggressively licking his dink. Will you stop? No,
Okay.
just sit in the damn chair.
I just felt the urge, Mom.
No, you pissed on my Cadillac. You pissed on my Cadillac. Now you're licking your junk in the middle of an episode. Dude.
That's HotRod Mess.
HotRod Mess. So, when did he, you know what's really crazy? Is that he went to St. Xavier University and my kids went to St. Francis Xavier School.
Yes. Yeah.
So I find that, I'm like, oh, I was like he was meant to be with us.
His father went to St. Xavier High School in New York, so
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Vincent.
Yeah. I still have his father's class ring from high school because he loved that. He wore that all the time. So.
That's awesome.
But he did that later. He was already working on the department for about 15 years before he got his bachelor's degree, so he did it part-time at night.
He did.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
he didn't. What made
Because
him?
he went basically right out of high school, went to work with Cook County. So he was only 21 or whatever when he became a Chicago officer. So he'd already had some experience with the sheriff's department. So,
And he didn't have to go through all the boot camp and all that stuff like they make you do now.
Well, yeah, there was a police academy.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
he did go to the
Yeah,
police.
the police academy.
Can-
Hello.
li-
How are you? Nice to see you.
You're a bit much.
There we go.
You're a bit much.
Lie down. Yeah.
Auntie's yelling at me. I was just here for the show. No. All done. You're all done, Vincent. This is me, guys. Train wrecking the place.
Oh, well, that's all right. It's all right.
It's all right.
We're good.
I'm trying to figure out how those cookies are gonna taste later. It's another story. But I mean, he had the United States Department of the Navy. Like, what was that about?
Yeah, it was a program out of Great Lakes in Illinois where it was a 2-week training period for officers that went through naval training, nav leads they called it, and he just absolutely loved it.
That's awesome.
And just the respect that the Navy gave the officers that were in this class and program, he just ate it all up, and he was an expert marksman, firearms, definitely won state awards for that.
Oh.
He actually spent a lot of time in retooling departments' procedures for deadly force. And he basically boiled down deadly force to 3 words, meaning if you can say yes to these 3 words, a shooting is justified. So it was capability, intent, and I'll come back to that. But it just simplified so easy. Of course, I can't remember now. To say those 3 words to know whether you're justified in a shooting. And he was actually doing training for the department.
That's awesome.
For that. And actually, he was trying to do it on the Cape when he moved here, and talking to both Mashpee and to Yarmouth. I'll come up with those words: capability, intent. Well, there's another one. Forget what it is. But that's what, it was always about trying to do better, trying to make it better, make it easier. A cool thing that he shared with me when the show Chicago PD came on.
That's right, Chicago PD.
Chicago PD. He absolutely could relate because he was Hank Voight.
Okay.
They had a district which had been closed called the 21st District. Well, it was an abandoned building, so Chicago PD show ended up using the actual old precinct to shoot the show. And on the second floor, where Hank Voight's office is, that was Mac's office. That was his actual physical office.
No shit, that must have been so cool to see.
He worked on a skip team, so it was a little bit different, but this was something that was at the superintendent's beck and call. So whatever they needed done, off book, on book, his team did. And he did that for a number of months. And I'm still close to one of his co-workers that he worked with, that worked under Mac. But that was pretty cool, to see that, to think, all right, that used to be Mac's office.
That's
It was
awesome.
pretty neat. And
Now I'm gonna have to rewatch Chicago PD so I can.
yeah, you
pinpoint that.
see The Office, but that was their whole setup. So.
Maybe HA stood for Hank.
Maybe.
Hank. Hank.
Well, the story with the HA is that this is his story. His grandfather came over from Ireland and came in through New Orleans. Well, I guess the pronunciation of the name was O'Shea, and they had no idea how to spell that. So he said, "Oh, it sounds like HA," so that's where the name HA came from.
I mean, there's some C's and some H's in there,
No,
yes.
but the name O'Shea has like 15 letters in it. So,
oh, really?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's like, and there's a little that guttural sound with it too. But yeah, there was. He liked to say there's 4 letters in my name: H period, A period.
Yeah,
That's what he said.
Yeah.
But that was the story about of HA. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it was his grandfather's name that was changed from around. That's
his
awesome.
grandfather's name for sure.
That is awesome. And what my other questions are, before I get into more of math, what let's see here. I had in here, went to the Navy Academy, it was public speaking. He did public speaking, or is my public speaking engagements with South Suburban Community College. It says in here, actors for screen presentations as police officers. He said, in addition, my fictional short stories have been published by Police Magazine, a national police journal, and Opus, an academic journal. I am registered as a technical resource with the state of Illinois for Film Office. What was that? Like, what did he do with that? Did he ever talk about that?
He was a screenwriter.
Wow.
He wrote 7 screenplays. So I have them in the basement. He wrote 7 movies. So
Mary, you should get someone to publish him or do them in his honor and memory of him.
He had an agent, a Hollywood agent. He had a signed contract with a Hollywood agent, and his agent was trying to peddle the movies back whenever he wrote them. Nothing ever came of it. It was a multi-million-dollar contract.
Wow.
But I mean, he loved to write. He loved to read all the crime stories. Dennis Farina was a friend of his.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I bet you they'd be worth their weight in gold now, because going back and he knew the history, because he lived it.
Yeah, that's true.
And when you live it, you can shout it.
Yeah. So having the police experience and also the screenwriting experience, he was obviously very, very good in the role of a technical assistant or whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
And actually his friend Frank, who I mentioned before, that was part of his skip team, actually was one of the technical consultants on Chicago PD.
That's wild.
So he'd get an extra gig working the set for that. So that's pretty cool.
And he was the co-founder in here. It says, I'm the co-founder and member emeritus of the Pipes and Drums of Chicago Police Department.
Right.
And he raised, which is really awesome here, as he said, in 2002, they raised over $180,000 to place gravestones on the graves of 63 officers killed in the line of duty that didn't receive a gravestone at the time of their demise. Now that's even wild to me too. Here you are, gave your life, and you didn't get a gravestone? What the fuck?
Yeah.
What? Chicago, pull your shit together.
Right. And
that should be number 1.
Right. I think the earliest was 1910. So this poor officer had nothing until this team stepped up. They wanted to have a purpose, a focus when they started the pipe band. He was a side drummer. So knowing him, he just rushed right to the front of the class to say, I'm more than happy to help and make this all happen. But it was just amazing the stories that they did. They actually rented out McCormick Place, which, if you don't know, is a huge convention hall, huge convention facility. I've been inside it. It's enormous, and they had a fundraiser there. So they got someone to donate a motorcycle. They got someone to donate a boat, and they had raffles, and that's where they raised $180,000.
That's crazy.
And then a lot of it was research. Okay, we may know who passed away, but where are they? Were they buried in paupers' graves?
Oh,
Do they
that's
have
right.
any next of kin? Because if they had a next of kin, they had to be contacted about, letting them know we want to honor them. Some had no next of kin, and they actually had to legally become their next of kin to be able to move forward with putting gravestones on their graves.
Can you, like, how heartbreaking is that? Can you imagine giving your life?
Yeah.
Like, and this is, I guess this is where I become very hot-headed or hard-headed or whatever when it comes to police officers and things like that, because anybody in the line of duty, because you are giving your life, and at the end of the day, you're either A, just coming home in a casket in a wooden box, or B, you're just being put in the ground, and these poor gentlemen, no recognition.
Yeah.
If you don't even have a gravestone, it's like it didn't even exist.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Right. What did their life mean?
Like,
yeah.
And here they are giving their life on the line every day to ensure your safety and your well-being, and I can't even imagine that. That is wild to me that they didn't have a gravestone.
I know. So they wanted to rectify that, so they did. It was a lot of work, and they used their band as the way to do fundraising. They would do the St. Jude's parade, obviously, in the beginning of May, but they would do all kinds of events and fundraisers.
Isn't there a picture of him somewhere in a kilt playing the band?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure, yes.
Okay, because I remember seeing a picture somewhere of him in a kilt playing an instrument or something in a band, or doing something in a band.
Yeah, he's a drummer, and that was part of their uniform. So they had the St. Andrew's tartan as which is the police officers' tartan, as their kilt, but they wore their white, his was a white uniform shirt, because he was a sergeant. And then those that were patrolmen had blue shirts, but that was their regular shirt with the stripes and pins and all of that, and they had a hat, not their usual cap, but they had something with the tartan on it, and they would do that. They would play. Yeah,
it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's wonderful. They were actually, Mac didn't go, but they were invited by Prince Albert of Monaco to go to Monaco. So they played for Prince Albert in Monaco. I don't remember why he didn't want to go or wasn't able to go, but what an amazing experience and honor for the pipe band. They were then raising funds for them to go, but they went to Monaco. This was great. And they would go up to Montreal. I believe there was also a law enforcement parade that they would go to. They would quite often go up to Milwaukee for performances and things like that. So they traveled around.
That's awesome. So thank you everybody who has listened, and thank you for all of the support and everything. And I'm so thankful and grateful to be able to have Mary here with me. And I just want to say thank you very much, Mary. Again, you're amazing, and I love you. And you guys can see us at HotRodMess.com. You can follow us on all major platforms and subscribe. And please, please, please leave us a review, because we need all the review and all the love. So bring it on. You have anything, all of it. We want to hear it. HotRodMess@gmail.com or HotRodMess.com to get through to me directly. I am the Hot Rod Mess Diva, and I'll be back.